All right.
All right, folks. Welcome to the show. I got a special guest today, good buddy of mine. We've known each other a long time. He's well known in the department. He's an intel specialist. His name is Sergeant Aaron Johnson. So, welcome to the show, Aaron. What's up, buddy?
Mike, thank you so much for having me. I have to congratulate you on the retirement and, and the show, man. This is great.
Thank you. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been with the police department, the NYPD, for 16 years. I started in 2004 in Impact, but before that, I was in college before that. I went to Morgan State University, historically Black college. I majored in engineering. I came out of I graduated there with an engineering degree. I did some work in the private sector, and it was just like, I just couldn't do it. It was just like, it wasn't exciting enough, or I just taking the train and sitting in a cubicle all the time wasn't what I wanted out of life. So, so I joined the department in 2004. I started off in the 40th precinct in the Bronx. From there, I went to the 4-2. In the 4-2, I did a few things. I was like anti-crime. I did conditions. I was a FIO assistant, and then I went to narco, where I met you, Mike. So I was a narco for 8 years. So I was in major case narcotics for a few years before I got promoted to sergeant. And there I went to the 9th, and I was the FIO in the 9th for quite a few years. I was field intelligence officer for people that don't know. So it's a great position, and it's like the position that's getting all the guns now. Like, you got to give respect to those guys. And then at the beginning of this year, I went to the intelligence operation and analysis section. So what that does is, like, we investigate terrorism and anarchists and everything in between. It's it's completely opened my eyes since being in this position.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's amazing how, like, parts of this job are like apples and oranges.
Yes.
Like, just going from like cop to sergeant. How you see how the other side, you're like, I never saw this before as a cop. Like, what do you mean I'm in charge? I'm in charge of all of these people? What's with this 15-page roll call? And why am I putting 7 guys in the same sector car and all of that stuff? So now, what you're doing in Intel now, you're like frontline stuff right now with everything just with everything that's going on, basically.
I am. We are out there every day. We get reporting on what's happening and what's about to happen. We're aware of the protests and everything. When it started, I was out there every day for at least 12 hours, just following these rioters along and these anarchists. And it's insane. It's their mentality is completely off.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of it is all like just outside agitators that want to just shut everything down.
Yeah,
it's just cause chaos.
Well, from what I've seen is like, especially in the beginning of the protests, we were a lot of cars with out-of-state plates, temp tags, and they were just dumping people out. They would go into Soho, break a bunch of windows, loot, take what they could, throw it in a truck, and then they were back out. And the thing is, it's just like, you would think it's they were all like white people, like young white people from like the Midwest, like the ones that were like arrested. It was very strange, very strange.
Yeah, it does. You see these people getting arrested. You see all the addresses. I mean, not just you. I had a couple of buddies in OSID, a couple of buddies in DETF that were down there in Soho, and they'd be like
take a look at the online bookings.
Yeah.
Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, like all these Midwest, like dumb kids that either, I mean, people want to go to the whole conspiracy thing of these guys were all paid outside. Yeah. I don't know if they went for a payday. I don't know if they just went to get free stuff. I mean, you've been working in the city since all this has been going on.
Yes, absolutely.
I've been in the city like a handful of times. Just tell everybody what's it been like since all of this started. Because it's got to be amazing, like night and day.
Oh, it's been insane. Like up to like from like last year, last year, you know, everyone was in, you know, doing their brunches and you know, regular life and everything like that. Now it's just like it's homeless people all over the place, multiple shootings. It's just like, and we haven't seen this like type of violence before. Like we're getting like 3 people shot at one time. Like we're just spraying the area. It's just like, you know, you'll have people like you know, at like memorials and they're getting shot there. It's just like we're seeing like Chicago type violence right now. And it's all because the cops' hands are tied. You know, everyone's afraid of getting jammed up. Everyone's afraid to get in trouble. That's a fact.
Yeah, 100%.
And on top of that, we're losing something right now. It's just like the people that are actually the hunters, they're all retiring. You know, that's they're the way of the dodo. So there's no one teaching these new kids and people coming in on how to look for arrests or how to testify and how to do everything the right way. That thing is gone. The street cop is dead. It's no more.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I first got on, no one had a, you know, 1994, no one had a phone in their hand and can record everything. It's very easy to take a 10-second snippet of a police interaction and make it look like, you know, the Rodney King beating when no one saw what happened before or after the fact. So and like you said, everyone uses the word afraid. I also like to use the word apprehensive now because every day now there's some new order, some new directive coming down. You can't do it. If he's got a hangnail, he's got to go to the hospital, call IAB, call this one, call that one. The duty captain's got to be notified. No one wants to do it anymore. Now it's just you're creating more and more work. You basically tell and now what was it? Letitia James was talking about the car stops.
Yes.
You know, don't stop cars. How many guns you seen pulled out of cars?
I mean, a ton. And that just doesn't make any sense. It's just like, you know, when you look at these politicians and they live in this bubble, they are wealthy through some other means. I'm not sure how. Yeah. And they live in these great neighborhoods. They live in and they criticize us. And it's just like, wait a minute. I lived in the city my whole life. I grew up here. You know, I grew up in East Flatbush, the 6-7 precinct, one of the most violent commands. And I remember how bad it was. I remember hearing gunshots every night going to bed. And you know, the 6-7 is better now than it was in the 90s. However, we have a bunch of people that live here in the city now that don't know how it was back then. And I don't want to see it revert back to that.
Yeah, I remember. I grew up in Queens, and I remember. I mean, Queens was a stolen car capital of the world when I grew up. Yeah. I used to have cars dumped on my block. I'd see cars. I mean, listen, I've been pulled out of a car by gunpoint by the police. Believe it or not, lily white kid from Queens. I got pulled out because they thought I was in a stolen car.
No shit.
And they pulled up right next to me. My friend was in the passenger seat, he's a detective on this job now. Yeah. And he goes, we're about to get pulled out of this car because his dad was a cop. Yeah. I go, yeah. 2 seconds later, car pulls up right in front of us. 4 big white dudes get out, point guns at us and say, get the hell out. We got tossed the whole 9. The guy looked at the paperwork. He goes, get out of here. And that was it. Yeah. It was like 1990. Yeah. It's going back that way. Yes. It's definitely going back to the shootings are going up. I mean, you and I grew up when it was 3,000 homicides a year. Yeah. This year they're talking maybe 400. It's, you know, like you said, there are people here that have no idea what they're in for.
Yeah, that's right. I think the shootings were at over 1,000 shootings for the year so far. Well over 1,000. All over 1,000.
And I know, yeah, they just beat last year's homicide number too. They said.
Yeah. You know, we see it in the office every day, and you know, not even to make light of it, like we're almost like a pool, like to see what command is going to take the first shooting of the day. So it's you know, but that's dark, but it's the reality of it. You know, it's not like if, it's just like when it's going to happen.
Yeah, and the what's getting even crazier now is there used to be a handful of commands. You would say Brooklyn North, the Bronx.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere now. Manhattan, you know, you say Manhattan North. Now it could be Manhattan South. Yes. Now it could be Brooklyn, you know, parts of Brooklyn South.
Yeah. Parts
of Queens North, parts of, you know, it's going on everywhere. There was a shooting less than a mile from my house a month ago.
Really?
Right on Woodhaven Boulevard. Guy got
get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think I saw that one. It's just like, that's like we is that the 100th or is that the
one right in the 112? It was on
112
Woodhaven and Metropolitan.
Yeah, I'm not so familiar with Queens, but we were like saying, it's like, yeah, shooting in the 112, and we're like, oh, there's a shooting, like that never happens. That never happens. So and that was the thing about like when we were growing up, it's just like crime can happen to you anywhere.
Yeah. And
not just like particular neighborhoods. So that's where it's different. It's just like if you go to places like Chicago or Baltimore or whatever, the violence is more enclosed to specific areas. Now those areas are like Vietnam, but
yep.
But here it's more spread out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. I also notice like what you guys do in Intel now. What's like the flavor right now of what you guys are really doing? Is it more the anarchists or is it more dealing with the guns on the street? Because it seems like the anarchy, it seems like it's calmed down a little bit. It seems like we're getting back to just the peaceful kind of protests going on right now. Less, you know, stuff getting broken.
Well, I can tell you two things. For Intel, the guns are always the biggest thing. I'll tell you, Intel has, and you know, people don't know this in the department, Intel has the most confidential informants in the department. Intel has the most gun arrests and gun search warrants in the department. We also have the most positive debriefings in the department. You know, the squad guys don't want to admit that, but you know, but you know, that's the way it is. And that's always big. Chief Monahan said at CompStat a few months ago that FIOs are on the front line. They're the gun guys. You know, they're the guys that have to get the guns because there's no anti-crime. You know, it's like the gang unit's gone. There is no gang unit, and it almost doesn't make any sense. And I'm not, you know, criticizing. I mean, I'm not questioning the bosses in the department. However, it's just like most of gun violence is gang related. Why would you get rid of the gang unit?
Yeah,
it's just like it's kind of a counterintuitive. But with the anarchist stuff, it's kind of funny that we're investigating. We're into them heavy. We're into them heavy. And because of our resources is the reason why we're not Portland or Seattle. We're finding out what they're doing, and we're able to stop them at every chance. I will say this though. What's also going on with these anarchists is that you have people that, like, we call them the protest police, that are checking these people, telling them not to break shit and not to while out. So there's a divide between the protesters, the peaceful protesters, and the anarchists. There is a specific difference.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, they've shown some videos. You've seen people like, just go home. We don't want you here. And
yes,
it seems that, you know, listen. We know working. I just retired, but we working for the NYPD. You know, whatever goes on around the country, it's coming back here.
Yes.
George Floyd happened 1,500 miles away.
Yep.
And they destroyed, you know, half of Lower Manhattan. We didn't know it was coming that, you know, we didn't know the size and the magnitude of it
I think we were caught a little off guard,
Yeah.
but we always got to know that it's going to come back to here.
Yes. And it always does. It's just like, the thing is about New York City is just like we're the grand stage, and we're the forefront. But the funny thing is, it's just like we're a department that better than anyone else that we eat our own. Most internal affairs complaints come from other cops, about like 90% of them.
Yeah. I've had IAB guys tell me that personally.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like how we have 5 district attorney's office to oversee us. We have internal affairs. We have inspections. We have ICOs. We have 2 U.S. attorney's office. And an AG and an inspector general.
Yeah.
We have the most oversight of any department in the country. So, and I would also say that there's been so many things put in place for us to do our job right, and we're held under a different standard. We're not like some bumpkin department, in the South. That has like, it's like you call a police office and no one picks up the phone after 5 o'clock because everybody left. It's just like, how does that work?
Yeah, the judge is my cousin. I get to wear jeans and cowboy boots and throw on a tan shirt. Yeah, you're right. So now, being in Intel, how do you see this going forward over the next few months? I mean, you got the election coming up, so you guys got to be ramping up. You guys got to be looking at stuff.
Well, we have reporting every day of things going on. We know what events are happening. Our surveillance teams are working like crazy. And we just have to be ahead of the curve. There's been times where we weren't, like at the beginning of the riots, we were completely caught off guard. I honestly have to say. And then there was like a few weeks ago where there was a lapse in reporting. They took the George Washington Bridge, which is insane to me. Yeah. And and good shout out to the 3-4 precinct for handling business out there that night. It took us off guard, and then they they say, "Oh, Staten Island, you're next." Verrazano Bridge is a long bridge. I don't think they're ever going to do that. So
yeah, that's a long walk.
And there's no trains or anything like that. How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So so we're just staying on top of everything. The election's coming up. With Trump being out, like having COVID, I don't know how this is really going to affect that. Everyone is still protesting about Breonna Taylor. And we just have to stay on top of the game. It's we have reporting that says that these people plan on doing this stuff until at least January. So, it's like, God forbid, like win or lose, this is like I'm sorry, I'm not that passionate about anything to run around like this. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, it seems like it goes in those ways. Like I said, it's been quiet for a while, a little bit. You have the regular protests, nothing's getting broken. But like I said, you got the elections coming up in another 4 weeks.
But the unfortunate part about this whole thing, like I'll tell you, is that the stuff goes on every day. The media just doesn't report on it.
Yeah.
And we see it just a few weeks ago. Like, was it last week? The night of the Breonna Taylor grand jury decision, there were these Antifa guys just running all over Soho, setting fires and trying to break windows, and none of that's on the news. It's like it's weird. Media coverage has a lot to do with this, and it's giving like the perception the masses. It's giving the wrong perception to the masses.
Yeah, absolutely right. One last question for you.
Yes.
What's the craziest case you ever worked on?
Oh, the craziest case is Terrence Pugh, hands down. Man, I was in a major case, narcotics, Manhattan South, and I was up on a wire on a group of guys. Wires are the most fun for me, and Terrence was a victim of a shooting, a witness of a shooting, but then his boss's brother was killed, and so basically around this crew there was like 2 to 3 homicides, and 6 shootings or something like that. So we're trying to get a homicide prosecution. I hear from an ADA that, he asked for my help, and this is after I was on jury duty for 11 months, which was crazy.
I remember that. I remember that. Where is he? I don't. It's like that was it was like a federal thing, right? Or whatever.
Yes.
They're like, dude, you're never gonna see him again. He ain't coming. You ask bosses. You're like, where is he? I don't know. He ain't coming. He's not coming back. Just put him on the roll call court. Just leave it.
No one wanted to be bothered. So. So we were on the phone. We were buying lots of crack from this group, and we ended up getting up on the phones for the wire. But the crazy thing is, while we were winding down, we were presenting the case to the grand jury to get the arrest warrants and the search warrants and all. My main subject commits a murder, and we have the whole thing on the phone. The whole thing. So a couple days later, we're tracking him. The idiot doesn't throw his phone away, and we track him and catch him still with the murder weapon, him and his girlfriend, who was also implicated in the case. After that, we hit all the doors. It was like 10 to 12 search warrants, no sleep. And
yeah, I know those days. Yep.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do.
Not going home for a few days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, honey, it's rough. I'm at work. What do you think?
Yeah.
But thank God everyone did like football numbers for years, and the neighborhood got better, so much better after that. I think a year after that, I was FIO of the 9th precinct, the same command these guys lived in, and it was the first year we didn't have a shooting nor a homicide in the East Village, which is insane.
For Avenue D? Wow.
For Avenue D.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's like it took a lot of work, and I had a lot of people that helped me too. So, my old team was fantastic.
And these are the stories that should be making the news. You know what I'm saying? Listen, Aaron, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Great seeing you.
Great seeing you too.
Stay safe, and don't let Rios work you too hard. All right.
I'll tell him you said hello.
All right. See you later, buddy.
Have a good night. Take care.